Hey guys, it's Vince. Today we're going to be discussing a topic that I've gotten asked about numerous times since I've started my channel, and I feel it's probably overdue, but I really wanted to think long and hard before I discuss this topic. And really what the topic really is how to go about starting an online business and what I recommend you guys do when you start an online business as far as products, as far as process. And I really thought long and hard, and I got to be honest with you, I can't answer one general question on that because what ends up happening is it's arbitrary. I mean, everybody's business model is different. So what I decided to do is reverse the question and just kind of look at what not to do when starting an online business. Now, again, I'm giving you my perspective on, dealing with online business now full time for about 7 years, and I can tell you that again, all these topics that I'm discussing really are not generated just around online business. I feel it's business in general. I'm looking at it more towards online business because most of you guys purchasing the equipment you're buying, you're mostly going to be selling online. You'd be a fool not to because, again, the market's huge. That being said, it's also much cheaper than brick and mortar. That doesn't mean to say I don't have clients out there who are in full brick and mortar facilities and are probably implementing exactly what I'm discussing here now as well. I guess it could pertain to you just as easily. So again, I wanted to discuss this to the masses, and I'm going to start discussing this now, and hopefully you guys will see where I'm going. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what to avoid when starting an online business. And I would say the number one bullet point to avoid is trying to grow the business too fast. I know that sounds kind of funny because I feel in America today that's what we end up having. I've worked for numerous Fortune 500 companies, and I cannot tell you how many times processes were broken and they were never fixed because all they were more concerned about was output. That's what a lot of people complained about. Why isn't this fixed? Oh, I don't know. But we're going to do this. Well, why isn't that fixed? I don't know. The process is completely broke. The people don't respect the company anymore because they're overwhelmed, and yet they keep focusing on growth because all they care about is their bottom line. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be ambitious to make money. Everybody strives for wealth at one point or another. But I find that if all you're striving for is wealth, the quality and the product will become sabotaged. Okay, unless you're a company that is large enough to sustain that growth and sustain that internal sabotage, then essentially you will fail. And as a small business, and I'm looking at this more as a guideline towards small businesses. Again, most of you aren't owners of Fortune 500s, but if you are, again, you probably already know what I'm saying to be accurate, is that you really want to overlook and see internally how you can organically grow without outgrowing your means. And when I say that, a lot of times people are saying, and they'll look at my list here and they're probably saying, well, how come budget isn't on there? That's one of the biggest things. Actually, if you're not trying to grow too fast, budget is never a problem. Especially in micro manufacturing, if you're producing your own products, realistically, budget never really becomes that big of a deal because you control everything. You control your output, you control your manufacturing, you control your quality. So realistically, as long as you just stay within your means, you're going to be fine. Now, within your means doesn't mean you should go from, and this is exactly what I'm discussing, it doesn't mean you should explicitly quit your job and say, I'm going to produce 100 products a week, and I'm going to have a deadline on 100 products. I'm going to sign contracts with large companies to produce these products. You end up burying yourself. I've seen this done. I've seen it done not just in this genre of work, but I've seen it done in, like I said, full-scale businesses where they just bury themselves. They care about more or less making that bottom line dollar where they think it's going to pay off in the long run, and it usually sabotages them. And as a small business, you guys are scrutinized a hell of a lot more than Walmart. Walmart, you buy something, you're not happy, you bring it back, they're going to replace it. They have the budget in place that they can do that at will, and the business now really is driven on name and a lot of other factors that are going on rather than just sheer quality of the product. Where if you're just introducing a product to market, you've got a lot more variables that you have to look at. And I think that, again, getting into that rat race in your mind of, hey, I've sold 500 of these, I want to sell 1,000 a week, that can really lead to not only stress but just internal sabotage. And that's why I put this at the top of the list, because what I find is if you're trying to grow the business too fast, what tends to happen is number two. And you can see here, quality takes a backseat to production. Large companies tend to care more about sales quantity than the quality of the products they're offering. Guys, so many of you out there, I'm sure, are nodding your head yes, because it's a fact. Okay, I don't care what it is. I don't care who's doing it. Everybody has a story about a Fortune 500 company that I can think of that typically say something negative, that, all we care about is sales. Internet providers. I have an internet provider. I don't even have to discuss the company. Everybody has different ones all over the country. But, they'll tell you you're going to get such and such service, and you don't get such and such service. Why is that? Why is it you're paying for something, but you're not getting what you're paying for? Think about that. Think about why that is. Think about why they hire people that you feel are incompetent, that when you're talking to them, they have no clue what you're talking about. Their training is lacking. The company is directly reflecting that to their clients. I mean, it's sad enough when you're talking to someone and they don't even have a clue as to what you're talking about. It's a direct reflection that the company doesn't care. You don't want to be that. You can't afford to be that way. If you are that way and you let this number two take over, because typically it starts from number one, bounces to number two like I'm discussing, it could be catastrophic. And I say could be, typically it is, especially for a small business. If your quality takes a back seat to production, then odds are you will fail very quickly. Case in point, you just have to think about where you're going with what you're trying to produce. If you're a baker per se, and you're baking cookies, and your recipe sucks after a while, the first couple batches were good, and then you notice you're putting out 500 dozen a week, but your recipe is now slipping, you're going to find that clients are not going to be coming back. They're not going to be happy. Okay, so that's why I say implementing a strong process foundation over at least the first couple months. And when I say couple months, I would go probably 3 to 6 months to really dial in the foundation. You don't need a lot of people for this. You need a lot of soul searching and figuring out where you want to go with your business. How do you want it to progress? That's what you should be doing, and set realistic goals. If you're actually out there and you're producing 100 components a day, and you're okay with that, small components, you're producing them, the quality looks good, and you're comfortable, stay with that. Don't exceed that, because you're going to be your own growth level, so to speak, as far as where you want to go. You can easily control that, but what typically happens is you tend to want to run before you crawl. Just take a step back, and I hope going through these it'll do that. The next one is usually once you go from trying to grow the business too fast, everybody outsources components. Okay, I do it. Every company I've ever been does it, whether large, small. And you'd be a fool not to. Anything to save the time, as long as the quality is there. As long as the quality is there, it's totally fine to do that. It's when the quality isn't there that you're screwed. Case in point, I want you guys to think about this for a minute and do a search just to test what I'm saying to be accurate, because like I always tell you guys, do your own research. What do you know about me? Not a hell of a lot, other than I sell a lot of automation components. So realistically, I want you guys to do your own research and either prove me wrong or say, you know what, maybe he knows what he's talking about. If you do a search on YouTube, and I'm sure many of you have, on home-based businesses, okay, you'll see these. Actually, you don't even have to do a search. You could just do a search on selling on eBay or Amazon, and you're going to find out really quick there's a lot of different younger guys. The demographic is like 30, I'd say maybe late 20s, early 20s to late 30s. And you're going to find these guys trying to sell you a pitch on drop shipping for FBLA Amazon, drop shipping on eBay, drop shipping in general. And what's really, really scary is they'll tell you their gross sales. They never tell you what they net. They tell you all their gross numbers, which mean absolutely nothing in business as you guys become more familiar with it. And realistically, what's really interesting is they never tell you the pitfalls when it comes to starting a drop shipping business or an online business dealing with drop shipping. I'm going to give you the lowdown on dealing with drop shipping. Can you make money with drop shipping? Absolutely. Is it foolproof? Absolutely not. Let me explain. What usually happens is and I've seen this happen with even family members of mine, is they find a product online, the price looks good, the product online looks fine, you end up ordering one, and you get it in, and of course it's not as described. Happens a lot. We all had it happen to us. It's nothing new. But what I do find is where it sabotages people is when people are naive enough to think that they can start this drop shipping business like these guys want you to believe, where you don't even need, you can do it within a couple hours and start drop shipping stuff. Sure you can. If you start drop shipping components from vendors you're not familiar with and not familiar with their quality, guys, it is a catastrophic experience if a client receives something that is not as described. And then they ask you a question and you lack the knowledge to even explain to them what happened. What are you going to tell that client? I drop shipped this and I was hoping for the best. I mean, if you're selling, radios and you know nothing about radios and that client asks you a question, you completely look ignorant. And if you look ignorant of your own product, what does that state about your company? Okay? These are things not discussed. You can do a search on YouTube. I've never found a video on that, yet I experience it all the time. All the time. I have spoken to more vendors, and I'm talking actually about the vendor. I've spoken to more vendors about products that they carry, and one of the biggest things I always find is how there are, I would say, between 25 to 35% of vendors that are online that have very limited knowledge on what they're actually selling. And if you actually tie yourself to a company like that and take a chance on them, what does that say about you if one of your clients receives a product from them and you can't even get that company to respond, the vendor? I mean, that, again, you're leaving yourself vulnerable. And that can be very, very costly. So my suggestion, and this is just my suggestion, this is something that I've experienced, when you start getting involved in doing outsourcing for components, you better damn well have a budget that supports the quality control in-house, and I mean you personally going over every item or having a team go over every item and validate that that quality is what it should be for whatever genre of business you're in. Now, why do we say that? Because if you're going over it, you know you're good. When I bring up micromanufacturing, one of the biggest things that I love about it is that you are manufacturing your own products, so you're avoiding that huge pitfall. And when I say huge pitfall, guys, I cannot tell you how many people fail endlessly when they look at drop shipping. And that's why they fail, because they never want to handle the products. They don't want to get their hands dirty, so to speak. They don't want to get skin in the game. And so what they'll do is just offset it to the actual client. And by the time the client gets it, it's a piece of crap. It's not packaged properly. It's damaged. And then you have to play the middleman going to get your money back and make the client happy. And it can be, like I said, it can be a catastrophe. A lot of times what happens, and this, I'm just painting you a mass image of the problems that can be created. I'm just going to pick an arbitrary product. Let's say you order phone cases. And the cases you order were supposed to be red. You get an order in that comes in blue. You end up shipping all these cases. You never seen them. You never put your hands on them. All your clients get them. You sold them as a different color, and they get them. And now you have mass amounts of clients with the wrong product. And guess what? Now guess who they're going to? They're going to go to your payment processor. Is it PayPal? Is it Google? Is it Amazon? Whoever it is. And once they do that, that will sabotage your business. And if you don't believe me on that, you do your own homework and check. See what I'm saying to be true. And see, better yet, here's an easy way. See if what I'm saying is accurate by going on eBay or Amazon or any of these sites and validate how many mess ups happen with orders. Many of you have had this happen to yourself. So think about how much power and control you have over your destiny when you perform micromanufacturing and it's done correctly. You are eliminating that in-house because you're controlling the quality. You can look at everything you've made. Does this look acceptable? Is this something I would accept myself? If it's not, then you already know, hey, you know what? This ain't going to work. I'm good. When you're purchasing from someone else and you're trying to, skip that extra level of work, at least in the quality control aspect, you're screwed, guys. I mean, eventually you will become screwed. And I've had, like I said, it usually starts small where guys say, oh, I can make a little money drop shipping, and they do. and then they may make a couple $1,000, maybe 5, 10, 15,000, and when it happens on a large level, it can literally end your company overnight. So just beware of your vendors. If you're going to have somebody you're going to get in bed with, so to speak, with business, you want to make sure you know their actual product outlook and their philosophy very well. You want to make sure your money is protected. Everything in life has risk. We know that. Anybody who goes to a 9-to-5 job, there's a lot of risk involved, even though people, I've argued with a lot of people who aren't entrepreneurs that, there's less risk involved. And I can tell you, I don't feel that way. Everything we do in life is risky. There's no guarantee we'll be here tomorrow. But one thing is for certain is that you can mitigate the risk by actually taking the time and doing the research. And researching means not buying a sample. I have guys that tell me, oh, I bought a sample. It looks good. How many samples have you bought? 1? 2? I mean, what does that mean? It looks good. If you're not buying at least 500 units from a company, you don't know if those samples are perfect. Okay? And I'm telling you that because you don't know who you're purchasing from online, especially when you go overseas, which most of us do. So you want to do it at a level that separates you from the novices. Novices buy one. The guys that understand what they're dealing with, they buy quantity, because consistency is what's going to yield you results in the end and make you repeat clients. So just keep that in mind. One bad product, if you sell to 500 people, is not usually going to end you. If you sell, if you buy one order because you got one sample in and you think, oh yeah, this is great, I'm going to order, 500 more units, and all of a sudden you're doing drop shipping and you're wondering why every other day you're getting contacted by a client who's saying, this is wrong, that's wrong, this is wrong, that's wrong. You will be between the customer support and, like I said, going through and mitigating all the risk with PayPal and all the payment processors. You will want to end your business even before it fails. I'll be honest with you. It's a big headache. So be very careful with that. So on our next one is number 4, in purchasing excess inventory. Guys, I cannot tell you how many people refuse to source as local as possible to make everything more streamlined, in the sense that they're not carrying so much inventory on hand. If you're running a business out of your house, one of the biggest things that I've learned is I want the least amount of inventory I need to be successful. If I have the least amount of inventory I have to be successful with what I need, I'm never overspending. I never am using more room than I need to. And realistically, if it's a dead product, it's easier to clear out because I only have what I have available in my house. What ends up happening with a lot of guys is they end up purchasing because they get a good price on something, and I get it. I get the good price, so if I buy in quantity, I'll get things less. That makes sense to a point. And why I say to a point is it's really got to be justified by your business model, at least in my perspective, but everybody is different. What I find is that price always takes a back seat to reality. If I don't need 500 of something, then because I'm getting it, at a 30% discount, I'm not going to buy 500 because that means I still have to move 500 to recoup my investment, at least recoup my investment, which that's not what we're looking to do, is break even. We're in business. We have to make money. So realistically, that's something I always look at. And again, here's another pitfall that you guys avoid a lot more, I'm hoping, as you get more involved in micro manufacturing, is the fact that you can control your inventory a lot better than most because you are manufacturing your products. Most business models don't have that luxury. If you think about it, unless you're a restaurant, where a lot of people think, oh, you go in a restaurant and you order a meal and the chef makes the meal. Guys, a restaurant is a manufacturing facility. All they're doing is manufacturing meals. That's it. So if you think about it, when I hear about how restaurants, a lot of them fail, it's kind of amazing because they're actually manufacturing food. So it's a matter of how they implement all that strategy to get those raw materials, which are nothing but ingredients, and then putting it on your plate. So realistically, you're doing the same. Look at your raw materials. Look at the substrates you plan on working with. Look at the cost associated with the substrates. Carbon fiber is going to have a hell of a lot different cost, or Kevlar, than aluminum or billet or steel, whatever it may be. So you really want to look at what you're carrying and where you're going with your inventory. My ultimate objective is always, like I said, that just-in-time mentality where, whatever we've got in-house, if I can use that, even if I have to pay more to have overnight shipping, sometimes overnight shipping to get raw materials in is actually cheaper than you stocking material in-house. Because again, what a lot of people tend to avoid is when you're using up space ends up usually costing you money. So just keep that in mind when I talk about excess inventory purchasing. Once again, you guys are in a different market with when we actually say that you're micro manufacturing. You have a lot more control, and that's the beauty of this. With your own equipment, you control an awful lot, just like a full-scale manufacturing company, just at a smaller size. So the next one I'm going to talk about is huge, and why I say it's huge, it kind of touches me personally because I've worked for UPS. I was in UPS management program. I worked for them for about 3 years. And I'll tell you, it's one of the most grueling jobs if you've worked up to that level. I can tell, I really feel for those guys. So if you guys are not familiar with how hard working for a carrier is, it's probably one of the most rigorous physical jobs you will ever work. That being said, there is a lot to learn about shipping. And when I say shipping skills are lacking is number 5, I cannot tell you. I order from vendors no different than you guys do. I mean, matter of fact, I received an Amazon order a minute ago. And believe it or not, it was electronics. The box was packaged absolutely horrifically. The item was just thrown in there, virtually no baffles for support, just virtually no care whatsoever for what you just ordered. Okay, and once again, we're going from here, number 5, and then number 2. You can see right here, this number 2 is going to come back. These all work in conjunction together. Most of you already know that. You're shaking your head. I mean, it just is what it is. It's so amazing to me how many of these large companies get away with, and I know it must be true, get away with all these insurance claims and yet never, ever, ever have a problem with these Fortune 500 saying, hey, we're not going to do business with you anymore. UPS will still ship no matter where, whatever large company, Walmart, Amazon, Amazon's probably one of the worst that I've seen in that, and that's the company I just received from, in that you'll find that the shipping is just horrendous. I mean, most of the boxes are packaged with virtually no care, and I don't blame the people. You have to look at the company. You have to look at the training implemented. These companies are spending maybe an hour or 2 of quality time with their people as far as learning how to ship. Most of them don't care about the skills because why would you care for about $8 or $10 an hour, I mean, the higher echelon gets richer and the lower echelon keeps going backwards. That is why these businesses can do that, is because it's such a large business, it extrapolates over into other areas to where it gives them a line of security. Walmart and Amazon never have to worry about, any claims problems with UPS because they're so large, they're not going to lose the account. For you or I, though, with a smaller business where clients matter and your client's word of mouth is going to travel really quick, shipping skills are a must. And when I say a must, don't cut corners. Take your time. Think about what you're developing. Product development doesn't just mean the product. It means how you're going to ship the product. It means, the logistics behind the product are virtually just as important because here's the thing. Actually, I think they're more important. I'll tell you why. When your client opens that box, that's the true defining factor of what you did. That shows you how proud you are of what you did. So think about it from that perspective. You may never meet your client face to face, especially if you're doing online business. But one thing you can rest assured on, if they open up the box and they see it's packaged properly, and believe me, most people will look at that. If they see it's packaged properly and it's packaged as if you cared about it, it's going to send that signal to them. And it's going to make you look that much better, even if there is a problem. You can never, ever, ever avoid all problems. Look, I've had damages. Many of us have. Okay? It's just part of business. You have to accept that risk. But that being said, you don't have to be a fool either and pack it asinine. You have to use common sense. If you're shipping electronics, double-walled enclosure boxes are your best friend. If you're creating your own packaging, I suggest using baffling with bubble wrap. I see bubble wrap used in ways that absolutely don't make sense. You see a lot of people doing a single layer around things. Bubble wrap is most effective when it's folded and making thicker baffles rather than you actually wrapping an object. Another thing I see with styrofoam peanuts, and these two, just what I'm telling you here, guys, with this styrofoam peanut tip, this will save your business a lot of money. You see a lot of businesses pack boxes with styrofoam peanuts, and they just dump the styrofoam peanuts in the box. I want you to try this, okay? Because this is something I've done for years. Most of my clients will tell you it works extremely well. Styrofoam peanuts are most effective when consolidating to a confined area. That means that if you take the styrofoam peanuts and you take like a bag from Walmart and you pack those styrofoam peanuts inside the bag, you've now created a baffle. And if you create a baffle, you can fill that bag with as many or as little styrofoam peanuts as required to give you a floating capability of whatever your product is inside your actual packaging. If you think about that, the more that the product is floating and you have that baffles for any impact, your object is protected. And if you think in them terms, that is by far a more effective way of packaging, using less and getting more out of it. And it also shows that you took the time to think, hey, I don't want to just dump a whole big thing of peanuts in there. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten pissed when you open up the box and these peanuts go all over your room or wherever you are. I mean, it's the most annoying thing, and most of you right there probably smiling because you've dealt with it yourselves. That is it's just speed. That's all it is. All they care about is putting it in the box. There you go. It looks like I packaged it well. Guys, it doesn't work that way. If any of you have ever read UPS's stipulations on collecting a warranty claim, or excuse me, a shipping insurance claim, you're going to find out really quick they have a lot of pitfalls in there. And if it's not packaged to criteria, you don't get paid. Does Walmart say that? No, because they're not going to lose that account like we said. You guys have got to cross every T and dot every I. You're never, ever going to have that buying power for the majority. I mean, some of you might be, Sam Walton out there, but I can say that for the majority of us, I'm talking to the regular guy who wants to be effective in his small business, get rich on what I call the slower method, where you're building equity in yourself, you're building equity in your product, and doing that means learning as much as you possibly can learn about all of your business, not just the product you're making, but the carriers that are dealing with your product, the people that are working with you every day. I can't emphasize that enough. I know my mailman by his first name. He's a person. I know he busts his ass in what he does, and I respect him for that. And I think sometimes you just showing that, again, dealing with an online business, it's more important for you you may not have the connection with a lot of people because you're online, but when you do, make sure that you realize that when you're working with them, and believe me, you're going to work with a lot of people, especially vendors and whatnot, you respect their side too. It goes a long way. Have an appreciation for it, because even the stuff you don't see, especially when you are dealing with drop shipping with vendors who you have done the homework on, you're going to find they're going to appreciate you more. And you guys will grow much stronger bonds as far as the business model than you would if you guys were really kind of fighting each other and challenging your level of expertise and where you're going with your business. So just keep that in mind. But I can't emphasize enough the shipping area. Again, what I just told you about the packing peanuts, it works extremely well. I suggest you guys all try that. It will cut your shipping costs down, especially if you are using packing peanuts. Airbags, same thing. USPS, I cannot recommend enough, only because they do offer free packing supplies, so many of you already know that. But I do plan on, believe it or not, doing some shipping videos. I'd like to share you guys maybe some tips on how to package, because believe me, if you can avoid damages at all, you're guaranteed to have virtually endless clients. I've seen damages literally destroy businesses. And especially, I usually deal with it myself personally around Christmas time. I get most nervous. You guys should too. Peak season rolls around. Things get to be hell on these guys. These UPS guys are out 9, 10 o'clock. They're miserable. It's just a grueling day. They're handling all kinds of weighted packages. Not that I say quality should go to the curb, but you got to look at what's being laid upon them as well. So if you take that extra level of precaution doing what you should do to package everything, it's going to make things come together, I think, a lot better. And you'll find that, again, you'll be more successful at what you do, especially if you guys are doing international sales. Now, if you do an online business, I know international sales is inevitable. I do a lot of international sales. Packaging when you're doing international sales must be done correctly. I cannot emphasize that enough. Once again, we go back to number one. If you've never done online sales and you're getting involved with international sales, that would be considered trying to grow the business too fast. If you're not familiar with it, give yourself some time. You can go to the UPS store and sit with them and say, how would you, or God, can you give me the actual stipulations on insurance principles so that I can learn what I need to do to make my business successful? Usually they'll give you those actual rules. Don't expect them to sit there and teach you how to ship, but at least it'll give you the rules to go over and really ponder on, do I want to get involved in this? I see a lot of people get involved in online shipping, and all they care about, again, did the package get there? The package getting there is only part of the service you're actually offering. You don't want the package just to get there. You want it to get there and look like your business is a real business, not you're mailing something in a shoebox that, is beat up, run over. He opens it up, it's just a mess inside, and there's no continuity to what you're trying to do. The more professional you project through what you actually offer your clients, the more you're going to find that your business will take off. And I really, truly believe that you treat someone as you expect to be treated, it's virtually impossible to fail, guys. And I mean that in all aspects. If you do that all the way around here, I've never found that to be an issue. There's virtually no problem that you cannot solve with someone if you look at things in that perspective. Where usually things go south is when, one party becomes selfish. And believe me, you're going to have clients that are not all going to be perfect. Everybody is different. We all understand that. Once again, you accept and mitigate the risk by trying to offer that level of service, and that's what you should be looking at doing. But I can honestly say, if you implement avoiding what I'm writing here and really pay close attention to what I've discussed, I really think if you do your homework, and again, don't take my word for it, but do your homework. Again, this is my own philosophy and what I found to be very successful for me. I find it very difficult for you to fail. Are you going to become rich overnight? Of course not. I'm not going to say that. Any of these YouTube videos promising that, that's not it. There's no such thing as a free lunch when you're starting a business. It's work, man. It's a lot of work. But I promise you, if you put the time in and you're passionate about what you do, you will be successful. It's just a matter of putting the process together around the product and the intelligent factor of developing it from implementing the actual product design, actually making the product, shipping the product. You will become your own master, your own manufacturing facility, and you guys will be, I think you'll be very content in where it takes you. So again, I hope this video has been helpful. For all those who have messaged me and been supportive of my channel, I want to thank you guys extremely from my heart, because I really feel that, I do these videos mainly to help everybody. I want anybody out there who wants to be successful, whether it be with CNC automation or in business in general. I feel that at one point or another, everybody will want a robot, because I can't see why you wouldn't. I'm being honest. With the prices where they are right now and what you're able to do with the technology we have and how it can streamline your production or take an idea that you've had to an entirely different level with a business model, I can't emphasize it enough. You guys have been wonderful in your support, and I plan on doing some more videos. Like I said, this is one that's been, really irking at me, and the questions have been really piling up about it, and I hope this has helped you all. If you guys have any other questions you want to discuss with me, once again, my name is Vince. I'm over at eDealers Direct. You can either contact me through eBay on my store. I'll put the link below the video, or you can contact me directly on my email. It's storm, STORM, 2313@gmail.com. Now, guys, of course, that is my personal email. So, again, if you message me and I don't get back to you right away, right now things are really taking off, really busy. So just keep that in mind. Okay, if I'm not being disrespectful, I'm trying to get back with everyone as soon as possible, but there are a lot of things always going on. So hopefully this will help you guys, and keep a perspective. Like I said, I want you guys to do your own research. I'm not claiming to be the ultimate guru in small business. I'm telling you what I've experienced, and I can tell you truthfully that these topics I have not seen discussed. That's why I discuss them. I don't want to be like, there's no point in discussing what everybody else is and trying to sell you guys, the largest elephant in the room. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to be as honest as I can, tell you what I've experienced, tell you what I've gone through myself, and then hopefully you can learn from that, and it'll save you a lot of time and a lot of money, and that's the ultimate goal. Once again, take care. Thank you all for listening.